What if the Earth stopped spinning? We all know the Earth is constantly rotating, but we're usually blissfully unaware of it, which is pretty cool in itself, right? But have you ever wondered what would happen if the Earth stopped spinning altogether? Spoiler alert, you're gonna have a real bad day. It turns out the furious spin of our little blue dot is absolutely necessary for keeping things on Earth the way they are. If the Earth were to somehow stop its rotation, it would be absolutely catastrophic for humanity. Forget climate change and coronavirus, this would be a true showstopper. So what would happen? Could we survive? How would life manage? Let's find out in today's video. What if the Earth stopped spinning? Welcome to Mind Talk, where all brains matter. If you're new to the channel, you're going to want to head on over and hit that subscribe button. If you're ready to have your mind blown, ring that notification bell as well so you'll never miss another video. Okay, so where were we? Oh yeah, planet Earth. The Earth rotates at approximately 1,037 miles an hour. Doesn't really feel like it, does it? We don't notice it in our daily lives because we and everything else on the planet, including Earth's atmosphere, are all spinning together with the Earth at the same constant speed. Why is it spinning? Well, the answer's, because it always has been. If you think that sounds cryptic, think back to physics and Newton's first law of motion, that an object will stay in motion until some force stops it. This is called inertia. Being born from a swirling ball of gas means our Earth has always been spinning, although it is slowing down very, very gradually. How gradually? Every 100 years or so, a standard 24-hour day gets longer by about 1.4 milliseconds, or 1.4 thousandths of a second longer. Every 100 years or so, a standard 24-hour day gets longer by about 1.4 milliseconds, or 1.4 thousandths of a second. Doesn't sound like much, but it does add up. If you go back to the time of the dinosaurs, T-Rex only had 23 hours in a day to chase safari trucks and eat dudes sitting on the toilet. Earth's constant spinning motion around its axis is vital to life on Earth as we know it. It's central to the cycle of the day and night, the seasons, and helps to make the Earth habitable for all its creatures and plants. If it wasn't for this constant spinning motion, the world would look very, very different. So, what would happen if the Earth stopped spinning? Well, remember that everything on the surface of the Earth is spinning at the same constant speed. And remember the rule about inertia? So if the Earth was to suddenly stop spinning, absolute chaos and destruction would ensue. Everything on the surface that wasn't deeply rooted to the Earth would continue to move at that constant speed, causing it to be flung sideways at over 1,000 miles an hour. That would include buildings, cars, trees, and, you guessed it, us. Everything would become a projectile hurtling in an eastward direction like a speeding bullet. Ever wanted to fly like Superman? Well, here's your chance. The vast oceans would keep moving forward as well, which would cause enormous tsunamis to sweep the planet. Almost everything in the whole world would be reduced to rubble in seconds. If you happened to be on a plane at the time, or very close to the North or South Poles, you'd be a little better off at first. But don't get too excited. Next, the wind resulting from this sudden halt would cause enormously destructive, unprecedented storms to be whipped up, adding to the global catastrophe and destroying any remnants of the world as we know it that might be clinging to the Earth's surface. Luck would run out for the people in planes and close to the poles as these storms ravage the planet. It's unlikely anyone would survive on the surface of the planet, maybe a handful of underground survivors if they had prior warning, but their continued survival would be almost impossible. The surface would be a desolate wasteland. Few structures would remain after colossal tsunamis, storms, and winds of unprecedented strength flattened absolutely everything. The only humans left would be the small team of NASA astronauts aboard the International Space Station. You can imagine their horror as they looked on at the destruction of their home from space. If they had the ability to come back down and begin the overwhelming task of rebuilding and repopulating the planet, would they even want to? So if a catastrophic, immediate shutdown of the Earth's rotation spells that much bad news, what would happen if the Earth was to come to a gradual halt rather than screeching on the brakes? Luckily, things wouldn't be as instantly catastrophic, but they would completely change our planet, including the shape of it. Yeah, you heard that right. The Earth isn't a perfect sphere, in case you were wondering. That's right. The globe of the world you got as a kid is not exactly scaled to proportion. The spinning force of the Earth creates a bulging effect around the equator, fattening the Earth around the middle, a bit like the planet just hit its mid-30s and has decided to stop checking its waistline. For this reason, the sea level around the equator is even higher. So if the Earth was to stop spinning, the planet would become the gorgeously toned sphere it always wanted to be. No need to throw out your globe just yet. If this bulging effect was to become diminished and the Earth was to be more spherical, it would completely change the way the world looks. You'd be able to walk the whole way around the equator on dry land. Let me explain. Because water is much more mobile than land, the oceans would quickly recede from this usually bulging area around the equator and drain back towards the north and south. The land that is amassed around the equator would stay put for now, creating a huge band of land around the equator. An enormous continent stretching around the middle of the globe would be formed. This megacontinent would divide two enormous northern and southern oceans. And sorry, Canada, you'd be underwater entirely. Many present-day regions in the northern and southern hemispheres would be completely submerged, while new land would be exposed in this new equator continent. We'd have to completely redo all the maps of the world, so sorry again, that globe's still wrong. If the world stopped spinning, all of science would change. Even the way we experience days, years, and seasons would be completely altered. One side of the world would be shrouded in darkness for half the year, while the other side of the world would be daylight for half the year. In areas where the daytime and nighttime meet, there would be a strange twilight for months at a time. The strange twilight area might not be the best bet for human survival, as the temperatures of the two halves would be very extreme. The side facing the sun would experience extreme blistering temperatures, while the dark side of the Earth would experience bitterly frigid cold. And that's bad news not just for us, but for our flora and fauna. Plants and animals wouldn't survive easily in these extreme temperature swings, making it very difficult for humans to survive. How would we grow crops under these circumstances, even if we could adapt our own lifestyles with elaborate and expensive heating and cooling? Sustaining a population with enough food would be an enormous, maybe impossible challenge. The rate that the Earth is spinning is slowing down. There is drag created by the gravitational pull of the tides and other factors such as earthquakes shifting the land mass of the Earth. Like a figure skater pulling their arms in to go faster or putting them out to go slower, small shifts in Earth and mass make a difference in the speed of the spinning motion. Ever so slightly, the Earth is slowing down bit by bit. So should we be concerned about the Earth coming to a sudden standstill? Well, the chance of it actually happening is almost zero, so you can rest easy. Even though it's rotating slower and slower, it's an extremely slow process, and our sun will explode sooner than the Earth stops spinning altogether. Currently, the Earth and the solar system is safe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Well, that's it for What If the Earth Stopped Spinning? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and let us know in the comments which Armageddon scenario you would prefer if you had to choose. I'm partial to zombies, but that's just me. If you'd like more videos like this, click the video on the screen, What If the Internet Stopped Working? Before you leave, make sure to subscribe and click that notification bell to check out our other amazing videos. You've been watching Mind Talk, where all brains matter. See you next time.